So, Hemal, tell me when to start.
And I am giving an introduction, and then you can start with the session.
Okay, hi.
Hi, hi, ma'am. Hello.
So, I'm
Yeah.
going to now cut off the phone from Hemal. Hemal, I'm switching this
Yes,
off
yes.
now.
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Okay, thank you so
Yes.
much.
Hello. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar. Today we have scheduled webinar on Win Right, the 6 C's of winning, which has been organized by Applied Sciences and Humanities Department of Parul Polytechnic Institute, Parul University. I, Vaishali Nathwani, would like to introduce today's guest speaker, Dr. Rajita Chaudhary. She is an award-winning teacher, an artist, a sought-after speaker, and a noted author of books like the number one bestseller, Thorns of Competition, Organ as your ambassador, brand ambassador, and Bollywood power brands. Her column and articles on business and marketing have been widely read and appreciated, and she has a vast following across various social media platforms. The Guardian UK called her as an inspiring leader and featured her in their section Women in Leadership, where she spoke about the power of mentorship and how women led differently from men. She was awarded as Woman Achiever for her invaluable contribution to the field of education and marketing by YEP Trust. She has conducted seminars, training, and development programs on a regular basis for several corporate houses and students across the country. She is out with a new book which lays down the 6 irrefutable traits that are needed today to help us become a winner. It's proud to say that a very famous Indian actor, Shah Rukh Khan, has commented on her latest book, Thorns to Competition, as a very enlightening, lucid, and well informed read. Don't give it a miss. It's a privilege to welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much. And it is a privilege to be a part of the webinar organized by Parul University, and I hope I can add some value to this. So, are we ready to start now?
Yes, ma'am, you can start.
Okay, so good morning, everybody. It's very early in the day to be ready for a webinar. The book that I have written is called Win Right, and it was based on a philosophy that we had been working on and thinking on. It's basically a life philosophy. You see, it started with us reading and, of course, writing about a lot of self-help books, and we realized that every bookshop is filled with self-help books, but there is no section in any bookshop which talks about helping others. And why this is important is because, ironically, you help yourself the most when you help somebody else. And it was this philosophy that tempted me to write this book. It's all about, let me give you a small example. You know, when you see a small baby and you smile at that baby, and the baby smiles back at you, it is one of the most selfless acts, and yet it gives you the maximum happiness. So, the biggest self help is an act of selflessness, and it involves others. So, we went about researching that what exactly is winning about. And to understand this, I first opened the dictionary to understand the definition of victory. And it said victory means when you defeat the other person. And I thought that is where the problem lies. If victory means defeating someone, it means I have to make someone lose for me to win. I have to make someone feel bad for me to feel good. You see, the word defeat has very negative connotations. You know, defeat is always looked down upon. Victory, however brutal, is always appreciated. It's applauded. It's cheered. And the interesting part is that some of the biggest war strategists, some of the biggest winners of wars, some of the biggest authors have said one thing, be it the Chinese author Sun Tzu, who wrote the book The Art of War, or be it our very own Sikh guru, Guru Gobind Singh, who wrote the Zafarnama. They had one thing common to say, and that is avoid war. The biggest warrior, Napoleon, actually said that there is no war that does not come with regret. And his very famous quote is that the biggest war that gives us satisfaction is our own war over our own ignorance. So if the biggest of the war strategists, the biggest of the authors have said, avoid war, is there a way to win without defeating the other person? That is the question this book attempts to answer, and hence the name, Win Right. Is there a right way to win? Is there a way to win that gives me sustained happiness? And that took me further to understand the whole concept of winning. And the first thing that strikes me about winning is it's very addictive. It gives you the biggest high, like a dose of cocaine. Be it a small thing like winning a lottery, which is effortless, or be it winning a game of Ludo. The kind of joy and high you get cannot be replaced with anything else. So winning, by definition, is addictive. And what better example than the Indian mythology Mahabharata? One game of dice, one urge to win, and the whole dynamics of game changed. The life of Pandavas changed because of that one game of dice. So be it the Indian mythology, the Mahabharata, or be it the Greek mythology, they all have highlighted how winning is so addictive. In Greek mythology, there is a character called Icarus. And let me very quickly give you a small story, just to explain to you that how winning is addictive. So he and his father was a master craftsman. They were locked in an island. And they could not escape. They were locked by an evil king. Forget the whole background of the story. But his father quickly made wings for him and his son with the help of feathers and wax. So he used feathers and wax to make wings. And he told his son that with these wings you fly away from this island. But there is a warning. Don't fly too close to the sun. The wax will melt. You will fall down. Don't go too close to the water. The feathers will get wet and you will drown. And with just that warning, he gave Icarus wings to fly. And Icarus initially was hesitant, but then he learned how to fly. And the thrill and the high he got, he started flying. The higher he went, the more thrilling it was, the more exciting it was, and he went higher. And the higher he went, the lesser he remembered the warnings of his father. And as fate would have it, he flew a little too closer to the sun. The wax melted, his wings fell off, and he drowned. And he burned out, the wings burned out. Isn't that burnout something very common in the corporate world? We are flying, we are winning, we want more and more and more, and we're putting everything at stake, and then one day we burn out. Because this addiction to win is actually being responsible for our destruction. Be it the Indian mythology, Mahabharata, be it the Greek mythology with the myth of Icarus, or be it Marshall Goldsmith, who in his very famous book, What Got You Here Will Not Get You There, wrote that the biggest reason we fail is because we want to win too much. See, that's what winning is about. Winning is so addictive that once you start winning, you don't want to lose. And then you want to win at all costs. That's where the problem lies. Self-help books are teaching us to win. And what are they telling you? To win, you need grit, you need determination, you need consistency, you need discipline. All that is fine. All that is very important. But what is equally important is the way you look at winning, your attitude towards winning. And that is what this book, Win Right, is all about. It is about your attitude towards winning. If winning is addictive, and if you don't want it to be addictive, then the first C that I talk about is courage. Do you have the courage to walk away from a game that is addictive? Do you have the courage to quit? You know, there is a very famous saying, winners don't quit and quitters don't win. Sometimes it is just okay to quit. If the game is stressful, if the game is not going on the right path to your vision, quit. Quitting requires courage. But then that's what all success stories are about. You see, YouTube, the biggest digital success story, was actually something that started as a dating site. They got reasonable success, but then they found this was not right. They quit and they became a video sharing site. And look where they are right now. Twitter started as a podcast subscription site. It pivoted, it quit and changed the game, and look where Twitter is. So every great brand that you will think of, be it YouTube, be it Twitter, be it Pixar, be it Instagram, they quit, they pivoted, they changed their game, and then they won even bigger. And now here's where the twist is. You know, when you get reasonable success, it is easy to quit, it is easy to pivot. But what happens when you get astounding success? Can you quit then? And let me explain you with the help of an example of this brand called Kodak. I don't know how many of you use the camera which has a reel, but my generation, we grew up when there were no mobile phones and there were no cameras attached to the mobile phone. So every time we went on a holiday, the first thing we had to do was pack a camera. And more importantly, we had to pack the reels because our cameras used to work with reels. So we had to pack 2, 3 reels just so that we don't run out of reels when we are clicking photographs on the holiday. And the reel inevitably was by a brand called Kodak. And the reason I mention Kodak of all other brands is this is one of the few brands that had global domination. When it came to camera film reels, Kodak owned 92% of the market share. That's huge. More than 90% of the world that was using cameras was using a Kodak reel. There couldn't be a success story bigger than this. And this is where I want to highlight the importance of addiction. You see, the success of Kodak was its film reels. And then in the 70s, one of its own researchers came out with a camera which did not require a reel, which means the digital camera. So he was excited. He told his bosses that, look, here's a camera that does not require a reel. What do you think was the reaction of the bosses? They were shocked. And why were they shocked? Because this was a product that was running successfully without a product on the basis of which Kodak was successful. They were successful because they sold reels. And here was a camera that did not work on reels. They were shocked. The advice to the researcher: it's cute, but don't tell anyone. He did not tell anyone, but the word got out. Sony came out with the digital camera and the digital revolution started. The thing was, Kodak found it so difficult to give up on this success story of its reels that it refused to pivot. And as was destined, Kodak lost all its market share. The digital revolution came in. Nobody was buying reels, and Kodak had to file for bankruptcy. This is what I say: quit. Are you ready to quit? Are you ready to walk away from outcomes? Because winning is very addictive, and the ability to walk away from it is very difficult. And that is the reason for a lot of failures. What Marshall Goldsmith said, what the Mahabharata has showed us, that when you win too much, that is probably a problem. That is probably where the addiction prevents you from winning further and actually destroys you. And Let me give you another very quick example. This was a time when there was no Netflix. We used to have VCRs and we had to hire the cassettes from the nearby VCR library. And at that time, one of the biggest names was a company called Blockbuster in America. So it used to give VCRs on hire and it used to charge a late fees. And then there was this new company called Netflix, which was giving the VCRs on hire, but through mail, through postal delivery. And they were not charging any high fees. Netflix came to Blockbuster and said, buy me. And Blockbuster said, are you crazy? Our biggest revenue source is late fees when people fail to return the VCR on time. And they rejected Netflix. And very soon they missed out on this online delivery. They missed out on the online revolution. And Blockbuster, most extremely powerful company, everybody who hired, 90% of Americans had used a Blockbuster. It folded up. The reason being, it is very difficult to quit when I am winning. And that is where winning has a problem. That is where winning has to be looked at differently. And the book tells you how to look differently at winning. You see, winning is not about talent. There are a lot of talented failures in this world. Winning is not about talent. Winning is about teams. You have to look at it this way. I alone, as a lone ranger, doing everything alone, superhuman. We are told, oh, you're such a superhuman, you can do everything. I don't think that's a compliment. You are a superhuman when you have the ability to not just harness your energy, but the energy of people around you, harness it in such a way that together 2 plus 2 becomes 5. 4 of you do things equivalent to 5 people. That exactly is what winning is all about. And that winning is sustainable. Every successful company, look behind it, you will find a team. And it doesn't have to be a large team of 100 people, 20 people, not even 5 people. Even a team of 2 is enough for you to become successful. You see, one of the biggest brands of the world today, Apple, was actually formed by 2 Steves. There was a Steve Wozniak who built the computers, and there was a Steve Jobs who built teams. And together, they started Apple, and look where it is right now. Teams are important. If you understand that you alone can only achieve so much, you require other people to win. And for you to win, those other people also have to win. Then you are winning in the right way. And every great person, be it in the corporate world, be it in the music world, be it in the art world. We think music and art are very individualistic thing. आप अकेले बैठ के गाना लिखते हो, आप अकेले बैठ के पेंटिंग करते हो. No, even these creative works have a team behind them. Michelangelo, one of the biggest artists, actually had 16 people working for him. He was not the lone painter. The Beatles is one of the biggest examples of how music is made. It had 2 very big geniuses, Paul McCartney and John Lennon. And they say, we gave our best music because we worked together. We competed with each other. Very healthy competition, but we competed with each other. And yet we were a great team. So a team, I would define it as a group of people or even one more person who inspires you, who influences you. That is a team. And if you understand this, that you alone are not enough, you require at least one more person to produce the most outstanding work. And this is not me who is saying. The biggest of creators have said that they have worked best when they have had another creative mind working with them or even competing with them, because that competition was also a motivation for them. And Picasso, one of the biggest names, and everybody has heard about Pablo Picasso, this very famous artist, and he says that his biggest competitor was Henry Matisse, but every time he saw Henry Matisse's work, he was inspired. And he says his best teammate was actually his biggest competitor, who was also his biggest inspiration. So, a team is what you require. And if you have that attitude, if you look at winning as a team sport, then actually you win right. The third C. So I've already talked about courage. The first C. Do you have the courage to walk away from a winning game? Do you have the second C is your ability to cooperate with others, because till you don't cooperate with others, you don't make a great team. So teamwork, which is your second C, which is cooperation. And the third comes down to, is it always worth competing? Is it always worth defeating the opponent just so that I win? And the answer is an astounding no. And again, I will use two tech companies, Apple and Microsoft. You see, back in 1997, Apple was bankrupt and Steve Jobs needed money. And guess whom he went to? He went to his biggest competitor, his arch rival, Microsoft, Bill Gates. The world was shocked that how could he even think of approaching Microsoft, and why would Microsoft help a competitor? But he went to Bill Gates, he asked him for help. Bill Gates invested more than $100 million in Apple. Apple was saved, Apple survived. And this became the cover story of Time magazine, that two competitors, two arch rivals, two enemies almost, were collaborating with each other. And the same thing happened very recently when Satya Nadella, the Indian origin CEO, took over Microsoft from Bill Gates. He says that he knew that the only way to win was not in competing, but in collaborating. See, the thing is, before Satya Nadella took over Microsoft, Microsoft was the evil company, the aggressive company, the very combative company. It was always fighting, always aggressive. And then Satya Nadella comes and he changed the game. And I will tell you very quickly how he changed this game. When he took over, Microsoft was worth $300 billion, right? And here he comes in and he says, no competition, no fighting. And the first thing he did was he gave all his top leaders to read a book called Non-Violent Communication. Now, this book is about collaborating. So from a combative organization where everybody was competing, everybody was trying to pull the other person down, he said, collaborate, join hands, join energies, create something, share something. The more you share, the more you collaborate, the more you grow. And he showed it with his actions. So he changed the whole culture from an infighting culture to a culture of collaboration and cooperation. And he went ahead. And the first thing he did was release and open an office suite for iPhones. His people said, why are you releasing this software for iPhones? They are our competitors. But he went ahead and did that because he knew that this way Windows would become more relevant. And not just that, he goes ahead and collaborates with his biggest competitor, Salesforce. He goes ahead and collaborates with the second biggest competitor, Red Hat. And with these collaborations, Microsoft started to grow. So see, winning is not about defeating your competitor. Sometimes winning is about joining hands with your biggest competitor. And as they say, the proof is in the pudding. When Satya Nadella took over, as I said, Microsoft was worth $300 billion. And today, Microsoft is worth more than $2 trillion. Because this whole culture of collaboration, of sharing, was the right way to win. So my third C, collaborate, cooperate with others. And another example from the world of fashion. We all know the biggest brand is Louis Vuitton. And Louis Vuitton, a few years back, collaborated with this brand called Supreme. Now, there are many collaborations that have happened, but why have I picked up this one? Because years back, Louis Vuitton filed a case against Supreme for copying his designs. Nothing happened, Filing of cases, filing of lawsuits just wastes your time. It does nothing for your market share or your profitability. But when the same Louis Vuitton collaborated with this high streetwear Supreme, sales exploded. In a few minutes, the collection was sold out. Louis Vuitton also realized that it pays its business sense if you collaborate sometimes even with your biggest competitor. So, winning, as I repeat again, is not just about competing or defeating the enemy. Very often, it is about collaborating. Find whom you can collaborate with, and you will have your biggest win. You will have your biggest success. You will have the biggest profits. And when we talk about profits, a business, if it only focuses on profits, probably that's not the right way to win. A business wins right when it also focuses on a purpose. And let me give you another very good and very sad example. On Netflix, I saw this documentary on Boeing. Now, Boeing is the largest manufacturer of airplanes. And it's an American company, and its biggest competitor is Airbus, a European company. So Airbus launched this plane, which was a large plane with more number of seats. More number of seats means more ticket sales. More ticket sales means more profit. And every airline wanted to buy this particular aircraft, which Airbus had manufactured. And Boeing saw that its orders were decreasing because now these aircraft companies were buying the planes from Airbus. In order to win, in order to get more profit, Boeing very quickly came up with another plane which was even larger and more seats and immediately introduced it and started selling it. Now, one small thing that Boeing didn't do was it didn't tell the various airline companies that to fly this new Boeing, the pilots needed to undergo training. It knew that the pilots needed to undergo training, but it hid this fact. Because you see, training is a cost. When I train my pilots, it means they cannot fly the airplanes anymore, which means I lose out on those many days because my planes won't fly because my pilots are training. And unfortunately, two very big air crashes happened. More than 300 people killed for the simple reason that Boeing said you don't need to train the pilots. And when things go wrong, they go wrong in a few seconds. And if you see this particular documentary, you will realize how this greed for profit resulted in loss of lives. So let's not have just profits as the benchmark to win. Let there be purpose. And your generation of people with the internet everywhere, it is people are writing about it. People are talking about companies that have purpose and are actually supporting them. Companies that are focused on saving the environment, companies that are focused on doing genuine good, companies that bring about more equality are today the ones who are winning. So it's not purpose, it's not profits, it is purpose. And when you win right, you win because you champion for a particular cause. So if you really want to win in the long run, find out your why. You will want to become an entrepreneur. And a lot of people keep telling me, we want to become an entrepreneur, we want a startup, and then I want to become a billionaire. That is why you will not become a billionaire. You will become a billionaire when you have a startup and you have a strong purpose of why you are making the startup, because that purpose will guide you through all your decisions. So become a champion of a particular cause. You will eventually become a billionaire. And then my fifth C is every winner is actually a great communicator. So you have to have communication skills. But here again, communication is very often misunderstood with your ability to speak. A lot of people can speak. There are innumerable courses online, offline, right from school, teaching you how to become a great speaker. That is not communication. That is just 33% of communication. So what is the rest 67% of communication? The rest, 60% of communication, is where my fifth C comes in, and that is your ability to listen. The best listeners are the best communicators. And why do I say that? Because when you listen, you understand the other person. When you understand the other person, you know how to respond. You know how to solve their problems. You know how to make them understand your point of view, how to make them understand your ideas, how to sell your ideas, because then you know exactly what to say, in what language to say, what examples to use. So listening is something that every individual needs to do. And over here, I have a very interesting case study of a father who goes to a counselor with a huge problem. And he tells this counselor, you know what? I don't understand my son. He just doesn't listen to me. A problem most parents have. The counselor says, come again, please repeat what you said. He says, my problem is my son does not listen to me. I don't understand my son. He does not listen to me. The counselor says, repeat your question, repeat your problem. The man says, I don't understand my son. He doesn't listen to me. And after repeating it 5 times, the counselor had one advice to give. He said, to understand, I thought you needed to listen. Are you listening to your son? So be it us listening to our parents listening to us, or be it brands listening to consumers. Listening is what makes you a winner. And if you refuse to listen, that is where you start losing. And over here, another very interesting example of this brand called HMV. This was a music brand, and its logo was a dog listening to his master's voice coming out from the gramophone. Now, what's ironical is its logo was that of a dog listening to the voice of its master, and this brand did not listen. HMV was this huge British brand. It had this huge store in London, Oxford Street. And people like Michael Jackson and Madonna, at that time, the icons of music, used to go and shop from there. That's how big this brand was. Just entering into an HMV store and buying records was an experience in itself. And what they didn't realize was the online revolution was coming. They refused to listen to the online revolution, the changes in the market, and the brand from being one of the grandest and the biggest brands when it came to music collapsed. His master's voice, HMV, collapsed because it did not listen to the voice of its own consumers. Another very interesting story is that of Facebook. You see, before Facebook became big, there was a company called MySpace. And MySpace was doing very well. And Facebook had just started. So Facebook went to MySpace and said, please buy my company. MySpace refused. It was not listening to the market trends. And it refused to buy Facebook. And eventually MySpace closed down. Facebook was listening to what the market wanted. It became a huge success. And then Facebook stopped listening because the founders of WhatsApp came to Facebook and told them that here is an app of free SMSing. Why don't you buy it? Facebook refused. But then it was a little smart. It realized what the trend was. And even though it refused the first time, the second time, it had to pay $19 billion to buy WhatsApp. So it did pay a high price for not listening. Yahoo used to be a huge company. At one time, it was valued at $125 billion. And unfortunately, it was eventually sold for just $3 billion. The reason being, at every stage, this company refused to listen to the market trends. Google in 1997 came to Yahoo and said, please buy my company for $1 million. Yahoo refused. It did not understand this whole concept of internet. It was not listening to the market trends. The sad part is Google came again in 2002, and this time it said, buy me for $5 million. And Yahoo refused again because they said, we'll buy you for $3 million. Look where Google is and look where Yahoo is. So, be it brands, be it your parents, be it your friends, listening is the highest form of communication. And every winner, the first thing he does is he listens. Every leader, first and foremost, is a listener, and then he is a speaker. The reason being, listeners are actually learners. It requires a great humility to listen to somebody's idea. It requires humility to be a learner. And that's where my last C comes in, that winners are actually people who value mentors, who value coaches. So my sixth C is winners coach and they get coached. It is very important to have a mentor because that mentor shows you the direction when you get lost. That mentor believes in you when many times you refuse to believe, you forget to believe in yourself. And let me give you two quick examples before we end. You see, Chanakya saw a little boy playing one day. That little boy playing is what everybody saw. But what Chanakya saw was a future king. And this little boy trained under Chanakya and became Chandragupta Maurya, the biggest kings of India. That's the power of a mentor. He understands you. He sees the butterfly in the caterpillar. He has the ability to convert a caterpillar into a butterfly. If you have a great mentor, your life can change. And another quick story from Hindu mythology is that of Narad Muni crossing a forest, and he was attacked by a robber called Ratnakar. A small conversation with Ratnakar, and Ratnakar started thinking of his act of robbing people differently. And that's when Ratnakar went into meditation. And when he transformed into the biggest authors, Valmiki. That's what mentorship does. It transforms a Ratnakar into a Valmiki. It transforms a little boy playing in the village to one of the greatest kings of India. So, as I just want to know, is my video still working? Because I see that it's paused.
Yes, ma'am. It's not working right now.
Yeah. So, what would you want me to do?
You
Should we
can
able
continue,
to
ma'am.
end?
It's no, you can continue, ma'am. No, no problem.
Okay. Am I visible to? Is it working?
Yes, now it's working, ma'am.
Okay, so anyways, I'm just coming towards the end of my talk. So the 6 C's very quickly are: have the courage to quit, have the ability to cooperate to build a team. Don't always compete, look for collaborators. Have a cause, champion a particular cause. Be a great communicator, which you become by listening. And lastly, find a coach and be ready to coach people. Mentor and be ready to be mentored. Every billionaire has a mentor. Bill Gates says Warren Buffett is his mentor. Mark Zuckerberg says Steve Jobs was his mentor. So these very quickly are my 6 C's that you require to win, to have sustained success, and to really have joy in winning. Not just winning, competing, struggling, and then facing a burnout. Thank you so much. In case there are any questions, I don't know how to proceed now. Please let me know.
Yes, yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am.
I hope I was within the time that I was
Yes.
given.
Yes, ma'am. Perfectly on time. You maintained the time. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am, for the beautiful information that you shared with us and our students. And it would surely help faculties as well as students of our university.
Thank
You,
you.
yes. Lastly, you talked about mentorship, right?
Yes.
But sometimes we get confused that is the mentor giving the right guidance or not. So at that point, how we can move ahead? Because if we have two mentors, right? Then one mentor is saying some another thing. Reviews don't thinking do not match of two persons. So that time, what we can do, ma'am?
Uh, so I guess what you're asking me, how do I choose the
Yes,
right
yes,
mentor,
yes.
right? Uh, See, there is no formula for choosing the right mentor. But as I said, one of the C's was, you know, uh, there's a purpose. There's a purpose in your life that you want to do something. This person whom you choose as your mentor, do your purposes match? If your purpose and his purpose is the same, then very often the philosophy is the same. So even though you may have a few misunderstandings, mentor का यही तो काम है कि आप कुछ गलत कर रहे हैं तो वो he will not agree with you. So you will have disagreements, but you will have the ability to communicate with each other, to sort it out. मेंटर का मतलब ये नहीं वो बॉस है आपका, उसने कुछ बोला आपको वो आंख बंद करके मानना है. Mentor means someone with whom you can discuss with your heart. तो आप जब डिस्कस करेंगे you will definitely find the right way. First thing is you have to respect that person. If you're choosing a mentor, sometimes the mentor chooses you. You know, somebody picks you up, and that mentor could be your father, your mother, your teacher. They pick you up, they start training you, you start doing better than what you could do. You start trusting this person. So जब वो trust आ जाता है, then you know you're with the right mentor. And I guess that should be the one way to judge. Am I improving? Am I becoming happier? Am I making the right choices? Then I am with the right mentor. And if there is too much of a conflict, uh, then go back and think again. For me, YouTube is my mentor. It's like Eklavya. You're from a distance, so many people teaching you so many things. You choose which video you want to watch, which one you want to subscribe, which helps you to grow. So it's up to you, your purpose, and your philosophy, and of course, trust.
Yes.
Do you feel trusted?
Trust is important thing.
Trust is critical.
Yes.
Yes.
And the last question from our end, ma'am. Sometimes it happens that we move on some path, we choose one path and move on, but we do not get support from our family members or friend members moving against them, and we move on. So students wants to know that we should choose that path or listen to our parents or friends and drop the plan.
No. When you refuse to listen to yourself, you don't respect yourself enough. If you have chosen a path, then be ready to fail. The reason we don't listen to ourselves is, यार अगर फेल हो गए तो क्या होगा? फिर मम्मी बोलेगी, पापा बोलेंगे, अंकल बोलेंगे, आंटी बोलेंगे, दोस्त बोलेंगे. If their opinion is more important than your own opinion, then you will never win. As Steve Jobs said, don't let the noise of others' opinion drown your own inner noise. आपकी अपनी एक voice है. आपको उसको सुनना है. It'll be very tough and you will definitely fail. If you are ready to face that failure, then you will not listen to anybody but your own voice. तो अपने रास्ते पे चलिए. आप गलती करोगे, आप रास्ता भी चेंज करोगे, बट अपनी आवाज सुनिए सबसे पहले.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us your valuable time, and you guided us very well.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
it was very nice
A
listening to
pleasure
you.
to be a. Thank you so much, and nice meeting you virtually. And it was nice talking and sharing my thoughts with Parul
Yes,
University.
yes,
Thank you.
thank you, ma'am. Bye.
Bye bye.